I know how I felt or how I have felt in the past. And it doesn't matter what I look like on the outside. It was how I felt on the inside. And I felt like crap. And after practicing all of the things that I practice to work on self-love, I know how I feel now. And so it's more about the internal thing.
Hey guys, welcome to our SoulFam Podcast where I interview space holders from all over the world. I am your host, my name is Karolina, and I am the Connection Catalyst. I help spiritual entrepreneurs experience deeper connection with themselves, with others, and with the universe. Today on the show we have Katie Asquith, the self-love coach and the yoga teacher. Welcome to the show, Katie. How are you doing?
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm so excited and really excited to be here. Really excited to be a part of this incredible podcast.
Yes, I am excited too. And as you mentioned, it's your first time on the podcast, which is really, really exciting. And I'm sure you're going to do great. So we're going to jump straight in to your story, because often first thing that I ask people on this podcast is, how did they start to do what they do? Because there's always a big background beneath why you chose to be a self-love coach, specifically, and the yoga teacher as well. So could you share a little bit about yourself and how your whole spiritual journey has started?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll probably start from the point where I first got into yoga, and it was probably in 2014, around about. I was spending a lot of time going out, drinking a lot. I was in a marketing job that I wasn't really like loving. And I think really I was looking for things externally to make me happy, and I really wasn't happy. I was quite miserable. I felt like I wanted more out of life. And the more I did, the more external things to try and fill up my cup, the more kind of down and disconnected I felt. And I remember starting to go to a hot yoga studio in Manchester where I lived at the time. And I was just like, whoa, this is incredible. Like, it was kind of doing something to me that was lighting me up, and I really loved it. And I wanted to go around and tell everybody, like, oh, I'm doing this hot yoga, come with me, it's amazing. It was making me feel that good. And I also remember having an experience in one of it's happened quite a few times now, but in one of the classes where we kind of got into a pose, and all of a sudden I was just like crying, like floods of tears. And that's when I realized how powerful yoga was for me. So obviously, like, moving the energy around in my body had shifted something that needed to be released, whatever that was. And so, yeah, that's when I kind of started to move into that a bit more and dedicate more of my time to doing yoga and the things that light me up, as opposed to, the other stuff. But then, don't get me wrong, like, I think I was still on a journey. So I didn't fully commit to my spiritual journey straight away, although I did have quite a few awakenings. And yeah, so as time went on, it was definitely still being the party girl. I was at every festival, every night out, every social event. I would
Same
be
here.
there.
Same here. You're preaching to the choir, sister.
Oh no, I think you can hear my dog. Can you
A
hear
little
him?
bit. That's fine. We love dogs.
You'll have to cut that bit out. Anyway, so yeah, finally, it got to a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I really wasn't enjoying my job. I'd just gone through a breakup. I was going out more than ever, and I was just feeling so empty and down. Like, on the surface, I had it all. I had the nice apartment, I had the social life, I had all of these things, but yeah, I felt depressed, I guess. And so I decided that I was gonna quit my job, despite what people thought, because at the time this job was like, this, if you do this job for 1 year, then you'll be able to get any job in marketing, like, but you just do this for 1 year. And the pay was like diabolical. And I was like, but I don't want to do this. Even if I do it for 1 year, does that mean that I have to do the rest of my life in this industry that's making me feel like not worthy? And so, yeah, I quit and I decided to go to India and do my yoga teacher training course. So originally I was supposed to go there. Yay! I was supposed to go there with my friend. Like, I'd never traveled alone. I'd done a lot of traveling, but always with friends. And something happened, and things changed, and there was a reason that my friend couldn't come anymore. And that left me like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I can't go to India on my own. Like, that was such a big thing for me. It was a huge fear, stepping out of my comfort zone. And yeah, I had to sit with that for a while, and then I just thought to myself, I've booked it now. Like, I'm going to meet people when I get there. I need to feel into the fear and go. And it's the best thing that I ever did. It's probably the universe made that happen for a reason. The fact that I did have to go there on my own, you know. And so when I traveled to India, I had the most incredible time. So much expansion, yoga course, met some incredible people, and then I just decided to carry on with the traveling. It was never a plan, but I ended up moving around for about a year, traveling, meeting people, going where they went. There was no like solid plan. I ended up climbing a mountain in Nepal, which was never kind of, on my agenda. I went to Bali and Sri Lanka, and then finally a year later I moved to Australia. And Australia was an incredible time. I was actually there throughout the whole of COVID, which was a funny time to be there. But I think during that time, I would say that I probably lost myself a little bit once again. So I kind of went back to the whole, going out a lot and putting my happiness maybe more so in external things. And I didn't realize it at the time. But I wanted to teach yoga when I was there, but there was a lot of self-doubt, basically, that was stopping me from doing it. And I was procrastinating, and people were like, why don't you just teach yoga? And I was like, oh yeah, I will. But in my head, I was like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not as good as the other teachers here, and I won't get a job because I'm not from this country. And all of these, blocks I put in my own way, really. And so, this kind of went on. And when I moved back to the UK in December last year, I felt so disconnected and so down. And I completely lost my sense of self in a way. I got home, I was really anxious. I felt kind of lost and alone, and like I didn't really have a path. And a lot of my friends who had been here the whole time, like they hadn't moved away, they had their things going on, they had their jobs, they had their houses and their partners, and I was just like, what is life? Like, what have I done? And I don't know where I am. And I think kind of the point is that we all go on our journeys and we have so many awakenings, and we kind of go off piste a little bit, and then we come back to ourselves. And I think that's a whole part of finding your path, that you're not constantly enlightened. You can go off and return and be like, whoa, where was I for the last year? And this is pretty much how I ended up being a self-love coach. So because I was in this kind of dark place in January, February, towards the end of February, I was like, I need to get myself out of this feeling. Every day feeling anxious, having self-doubt, having kind of fear around things, talking negatively to myself, like my own kind of bullshit thoughts taking over, telling me that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not capable, I don't know what I'm doing. And then that's when I kind of found self-love. And I didn't stumble upon, I'd been kind of following this lady, my mentor, for quite a long time, like quite a few years. And she was doing, she'd put out there for the first time a self-love coaching course. And I was like, wow, this is like really aligned to me right now. I tried to go back into um, marketing because I was like, what else am I going to do? I can't do yoga now because I've left it too long. All the things that would make me, yeah, stop me from feeling like good enough to do it. And yeah, I went back into a marketing job like very temporarily, and it just, my whole body just rejected it. I was like, this is not aligned. This is, every time I sat down to do it, I was working from home. I was just like, I actually don't think I can do this. Like, yeah, it was just not aligned at all. And then, yeah, when I saw this coaching course, I was like, wow, it felt so right. And my intuition was like, you need to do this. And I think it's quite a difficult thing to step into that sometimes, like following your intuition, because obviously you can think to yourself, or you can think, or other people are going to judge me for doing this. Like self-love coaching, what is that? Is it kind of woo-woo or whatever? But it just felt so right, and so I did. I stepped into the course, and basically the rest is history. And here I am now, and I've had so much expansion since training to be a self-love coach. Um, so I've learned so much more about myself, and I've also gained the confidence now and the worthiness to also step into my yoga teaching. So I'm kind of on this journey, and
That
yeah.
sounds really, really great. And it's so amazing that it was so recent, all these things that happened. And now you seem to be way more uplifted, although you said like January and February were kind of shit. And for me, they were quite shit as well, to be honest. I mean, January was shit because I had COVID. And I literally, during COVID, I was
um,
completely depressed for a week. And I am never depressed. Like, it's not my vibe at all. Like, I'm a very joyful person, but January was such a shit month. Like I don't know, I feel like for everyone that I know, January was just so terrible that we really started new year and living from February on, because like January was just like, let's just cross this month out completely of our life, because it was just crazy. I don't know,
yeah,
the
cross it
planets were
off.
crazy, everything was just crazy in January. So I completely can relate to that. But it's so good to feel you and see you so uplifted right now, and in such a short time working with the coach, you already are where you're at right now, and it's so incredible. So I want to honor you for the transformation that you've already gone through, because you
Thank
seem
you.
quite happy with yourself, which is great. And can I ask you about the name
Yeah,
of the mentor, because I don't know if I heard.
yeah, yeah. So her name is Gina Swire.
Cool. It's good to know, because there's so
Yeah,
many different people, and if you recommend, it's always good to know which courses and which coaching programs are good or not. I've done a self-love course as well
yeah. I would highly
of Teal
recommend.
Swan, and it was really powerful. I'll share maybe some takeaways that I got from that. But first, I wanted to ask you, because you've been in Australia during this whole crazy times. I was there only for the first few months of COVID, 2020, like when it just started. But it was like, I'm not surprised that you were so anxious when you came back, because I feel like in Australia there was so much anxiety generally accumulated in the country, because if everyone is locked down and you cannot do anything and you're just at home, locked in freaking four walls, and you cannot really even do anything at all. Because I have friends there, my ex-partners from Australia, so I'm really connected to this country, and I couldn't even imagine
Yeah,
what people had in their minds when they were locked down for so long. So it's not really surprising that you went from Australia to UK and you were like, oh my god, what is life? As you said, because after such crazy pandemics and all these restrictions and everything, I feel like so many people had actually mental breakdown, after experiencing something like
yeah.
disconnection and restriction and lack of freedom and all these things. So it's great that you found your way back to yourself. And as you said, we are always kind of like remembering and forgetting, and I feel like that's what God does, or the universe does, or higher power does, whatever you want to call it, right? It's like the constant process of just forgetting who you are and then remembering who you are and then forgetting again and then remembering. And I feel like we are parts of the universe, so we are also remembering that we are all, and then forgetting it for a moment and just getting lost in some patterns or behaviors, but then we are back. And it's actually the beauty of life, because I feel like if the universe wanted to just be love and light and always remember what it is for like the wholeness that it is, we wouldn't have a human experience when we completely forget everything. It wouldn't be fun if we knew all the answers. If we didn't, it wouldn't be like a test. If we knew all the answers, right, it would be boring simply. I think, or maybe it's just my perspective, but it's
Exactly.
beautiful to be sometimes a little lost and then to find yourself again, and to have grace for yourself and understanding and empathy as well on this process, because everyone is human, or everyone who listens to it anyway. And so so if we can just acknowledge, okay, I'm a human, I have a mind, I make mistakes, I sometimes will fail, or sometimes will maybe drift away a little bit from self-love, and then you can find yourself back. This is actually the beauty of,
Mm.
and you can go even deeper in the self-love. I feel that when you rediscover it, when you come back to yourself, because then you can, it's some other layer of emotion or filter or belief is kind of like stripped away from you, and then you can be like, okay, now I love myself
Yeah.
even more. Even before I lost myself and found myself again, now it's even deeper, or that's what I feel anyway, when I'm sometimes going into some negative emotions or whatever. Usually it happens before my period every time. But then I'm good again, then I
Yeah.
love myself again. But just before my period, I'm like, oh my god, my face looks like this and my body looks like this, and it's all horrible and I don't love myself. But then fast forward three days or so, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm awesome again. I'm not sure if your experience is the
I
same
can so
with the
relate.
periods.
Yeah, I can so relate to that. Literally the
Yeah,
same.
so that's normal, right? So when we go back to loving ourselves, it's actually really, really beautiful, and so it's a beautiful journey we go into. And so I have a question to you, because I feel like the topic of love can be interpreted in many different
Mm,
ways. So what is your definition of love? First of all, because it's something interesting for me to hear, and also like what are maybe the types of love, because there are different types, of love that we feel, and I feel like it would be great to differentiate them a little bit and just talk about them too, because sometimes we misinterpret, or maybe we have different ideas of what love really is and what it means.
yeah. Mm. So, do you want me to talk about my definition of love as a whole, or self love,
Both.
or both? Wow. Okay. So for me, self love is so many things. Like, it's a big umbrella term for so many things, and I definitely used to get it confused with self care. So I used to, think, oh, self love, like I'll go and have a massage and book myself in for a facial and I'll have a bath, and and all of these things are amazing and definitely come under that like self love kind of term. But for me, self love is things like trusting myself, not having doubt, having compassion for myself, like even like we said, when we kind of go off the track, off the path, just having compassion that, okay, that's fine, like we maybe we went out and we did something wrong, or we, I don't know, got drunk or whatever, but rather than beating ourselves up about, we shouldn't have done that, having compassion and being like, okay, that's what we did, and that's fine. um and also just showing up. I think just showing up authentically is definitely how I see self love, um, and self acceptance. And yeah, just there's so many things, like holding space for yourself, not judging yourself. And I think the more we practice these things with self love, um, the quicker the recovery. So when we go through like challenges, with self love, our recovery is so much shorter, you know? Um, And I think with love, really, love is just like a huge energy field around us. And if we have self love, we kind of radiate that out. And it's so much easier for people to be drawn to us because, we're we're giving out that frequency of self-love, and people resonate with that, and people, they want that. And I think loving somebody else is, people say, how can you love somebody else if you don't love yourself? And I've never really understood that statement, but I think more now I'm beginning to really understand what that means. So yeah, it means that just really giving somebody, holding space for somebody and accepting them for who they are, and yeah, not having judgment and not trying to change a person. And if somebody does something, that you perceive as wrong, not looking at that person as like negative or bad, but from the higher perspective, seeing that we're all human and that we can all make mistakes, and loving somebody is really like holding that space for them to be like, okay, maybe you were wrong, and let's have a look at maybe why that is, and like, let me help you, as opposed to, shun somebody or judge them.
Hmm. Yes, I agree with that. And I heard this definition from my mentor, Teal Swan, the one that did self love course. And in her definition, love is taking someone else as a part of you. And I really love this definition because really it is
Mm.
stemming from oneness, right? When we treat everyone as one, we include them, we love them, as as the definition says, taking someone as a part of you. So if you would have compassion to someone, it's like we are one anyway. So it's kind of like you have compassion, you have love towards
Yeah.
yourself. So it's a beautiful, beautiful definition, because if you think about it, it's like love is like pulling something towards you, and fear is like pushing something away from you. But really, I believe, and I felt, just based on my experiences, my personal view, that everything is love, because everything was created for the sake of us experiencing this life exactly as it is. And so, if anything would be different, it wouldn't be as beautiful as it is right now. Because even if there are some bad, quote unquote, things that might seem like not love, that's what
Mm.
religion tells us, right? That there is evil and it's not love, and it should be denied and disowned and rejected and all these things, right? But actually, if we look at it from the higher perspective, as you said, everything is there for a reason. Like, how could we experience compassion if it wasn't for someone hurting us? How could we experience forgiveness
Mm.
if it wasn't for someone? Or how could we, for example, become healers and coaches who help someone heal if we haven't healed something within us? And for us to heal something, there has to be something negative or something not cool, right, to be able to heal it. And then
Yeah.
people are finding so many purposes and their life missions through negative experiences and suffering. And so many people have been actually enlightened thanks to their suffering, right? Because then they can really kind of like see beyond their body, see beyond their mind, see what's there, above, or yeah, like just beyond the human experience, beyond what we're experiencing in this very moment. So I honestly believe, as you said, like everything is love, everything is kind of like made of love, quote unquote, because we are, yeah, we are all one, and everything is one. So everything is love, because love is taking someone as a part of you, which is being one. So yeah, I just love the topic of love,
Yeah.
because it's just like I also do heart opening ceremonies, and I work with cacao medicine, and I feel like it's just so important to love, because love is the biggest, like the highest frequency of that we can really easily, I think,
Frequency. Hmm.
produce in a way, or emit from us. And it's so powerful, because the heart's electromagnetic field is like 60 times bigger than brain's electromagnetic field. So if we can really love, we can heal our body, we can literally, through self-love, heal ourselves. So I feel like it's so important to talk about love and talk about the methods of coming back to the love. Because I'm saying coming back because when we are born, we don't have issues with self-love, right? We feel like we're worthy, we feel like, okay, I'm hungry, so I'm just gonna cry now for you to give me some food. But what are the practices or the methods that you would maybe advise someone to do if they are still struggling with self-love, if they are maybe still, or also if something came to my mind, because I saw your Instagram, I was like, this is such a beautiful woman, and I feel like some people could be like, yeah, it's so easy for you girls to say love yourself, but because you are so pretty and so slim, and you guys are so
Yeah.
okay, and you're not ugly or fat or whatever, so you can talk about self-love. So what would you say also to these people who might be questioning, like, what if I am, fat and ugly? Like, how can I love myself then? It's easy to say for you because you're pretty, you know?
Yeah, I understand that. I think with that, I know how I felt or how I have felt in the past. And it doesn't matter what I look like on the outside. It was how I felt on the inside. And I felt like crap. And after practicing all of the things that I practice to work on self love, I know how I feel now. And so it's more about the internal thing, not I look in the mirror and go, "Ooh, like I look great." And so I love myself. No, it's, it's how do I feel, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's, do I accept myself? It's also a big one for me is like feeling into fear and holding the space for that. And that is, you know, self love. And in terms of kind of like the practices, I I need like reminders because it's getting better as time goes on, but um it was very easy for me to, you know, read all these things and be like, oh, self love, and then kind of forget as the day goes on. So one of the big things for me is like sticky notes. I literally have sticky notes everywhere in my room, on my mirror, in front of my laptop, on my wardrobe, like everywhere in the bathroom, to little messages to myself to remind me and bring me back to that kind of self love. What else is?
Yeah, I was talking about the methods and practices that you checked for yourself that are working the best for you, that you could recommend for someone who still struggles with it, right?
Yeah. um. So another practice that I find really helps for me is just connecting to my heart. So you can do this. It's like a meditation, but it's not. You don't have to sit there, you know, for 1 hour and do it. You can connect to this practice at any point, any time of the day, whether you're like in the car, sometimes I do it whilst I'm driving, in the shower, in the morning, in my bed, on my yoga mat. And it's literally just a case of closing down your eyes, placing your hand on your heart, and breathing in and imagining that that breath is going directly into your heart space. And then as you do breathe in, making your breath slightly deeper and then connecting to gratitude. So again, like I find gratitude practice is a huge part of my journey, because when I'm having negative thoughts or I'm really in my head, if I can just sit there even for 5 minutes and connect to my heart and think of find gratitude, feel it in my body, thinking of the things that I'm grateful for, and it can be anything that pops into your head, you know, like sometimes it might be like my dog, or a journey that I've been on, or you know, a really beautiful place that I've been to, or just my one of my best friends might pop into my head, or my family, or anything really that you are grateful for, and just really sitting with that feeling. And I think when you fill up your body with that emotion, that gratitude, it's really, really powerful, and it puts you on again like a higher frequency. That is my main practice, I would
Hmm.
say.
Yes, and
Yeah.
the frequency of love and gratitude, I feel like these two frequencies combined are the most powerful, because then you can really. I once saw gratitude as like spirals, kind of like rainbow spirals of energy, just like swirling, and they were kind of like I felt it here, just coming to my heart. And because I'm a very visual person, on any like medicine experience, I would like see things, and so for me, gratitude were just like plenty of these like little rainbow spirals, just cleansing me and just really coming into my heart. And so I totally feel like gratitude and having gratitude journal, and even spending a few minutes a day only focusing on this energy, already reprograms our neurology for like being more happy and being more positive in our life. And as you said, it could be about anything. So it's so beautiful, because sometimes we don't even see things that we can be grateful for. Like, we are healthy, we can see clearly, we can move our body, we can dance, we are human, we don't have to get, we're not stuck anywhere. It's just like we can do anything in life. There's so many things that we can be grateful for. And so I love this practice of gratitude as well. I feel like yeah, it's one of my favorite practices for self-love too. But I also wanted to mention one pretty interesting practice that I learned on this course of Teal Swan, or in the book. She actually wrote a book about the self-love as well. I think it's called Shadows Before Dawn or something. And it's very similar, the course and the book. And she was saying how she couldn't really love herself, and because there is water, right, and water stores information, what she would do is she would pour her a glass of water and then think of her son, or anything really. You can think of your pet or anyone that you love, and just pour your love through your heart, through your hands, to this glass of water before you drink it, right? And then this whole love doesn't have to be to yourself, but through this practice you're already sending love to the water, and then you drink it. So then your body raises up to the frequency of love, right? Because even if you have a lot of disharmony, low vibes, lack of self-worth or whatever else, your body needs to attune to the energy that you're putting inside of you. And so for her, because she has gone through extreme trauma in her childhood, it was so hard for her to love herself. She started practicing like this, just through the water and then drinking the water, and it was so easy for her to love her son. So then this whole love that she would pour to her son, she would actually pour into herself, which I think is a great practice to do. And another practice that I personally recommend, and it's similar to what you already said, is something that I learned from Marissa Peer. And she was saying, write "I am enough" on every mirror, everywhere you can in your house or whatever you at work as well, because then it goes to your subconscious mind. And often why we don't love ourselves is because we feel like in some way we are not enough, right? It's very linked to self-worth, I feel, because obviously, love meant approval, meant connection, meant worth. So if you write "I am enough" everywhere you can, and your subconscious mind, even if you don't look at it, with your peripheral vision, you have it somewhere there, and you constantly program yourself with this, and with other affirmations as well, like "I am love" or "I'm unconditional love" or whatever, then you can really sync with it, and your subconscious mind will get into the habit of actually believing that it's true. And obviously there are so many different other methods that you can do, like shadow work or belief work, or other things, but these are just simple practices that I feel like anyone can do it. But also I think it's important to work with the shadows of us that are hating ourselves, because if we don't love ourselves, then there needs to be a part of us that is resistant to this love, right? So I feel like there is also, yeah, it's so important to discover these things, that we are actually consciousness fragmented inside. So we're not only one or the other, we are actually all. So if we can discover what part of me actually hates me, what part of me resists me, where in my life am I resisting myself, what can I do to actually release this resistance and then love myself more. I feel like if we can sit with it, discover it, maybe journal, or maybe just channel the parts of us that are not fully loving ourselves, that could be quite a powerful practice as well. So do you do any practices like this as well?
Yeah, so for me, journaling is probably the biggest, most expansive practice that I have, because I feel like sometimes I tend to, and have in the past, blocked my emotions. That's my coping mechanism, or it has been. So if something comes up and I feel like, oh, block, suppress it. And as I've gone on this journey and practicing, and through coaching as well, things have arisen, and I've been like, whoa, what is that? And it's an emotion has come up out, not, I won't even say out of nowhere, but as we're being pushed to our edges and pushed out of our comfort zones, these things arise, and it's like a wound, yeah, like a trauma that is kind of sitting somewhere deep in your body. It can be from childhood. Like, I had a really interesting experience of where I was feeling a lot of self-doubt when I was about to put on a workshop, and I had managed to trace it back to a point where I was in primary school, and I was on stage doing like a assembly morning, and I forgot my words. And this was like a wound that I'd been holding on to in my body for like 18 years. And then it was released through um, this practice of like sitting with it and closing my eyes and feeling where I was storing that energy in my body, and just kind of sitting there for a few moments to see, okay, does this need to be released? Like, is there something that it needs to say? Is there something that I need to say to that little girl in that moment? And then also through journaling, I've managed to really like shift things around. So journaling prompts, and also one of the most powerful journals that I've done as of more recently was writing a letter to my younger self. So just really like holding space for, the young version of me, and just telling myself, like, I know how you feel right
Mm-hmm.
now, and it's okay to cry, and it's okay to release that emotion, and you don't need to be embarrassed, or, that was like really, really powerful. And I find journaling to be super powerful and expansive, because sometimes you don't even know that these things are going to come up, and you can kind of sit there. I always journal at night because I'm quite a night owl. But for some people, it might be better in the morning. I don't know. Um, and it's like somebody else has got the pen, and that I'm writing, and I'm like, oh, and then 5 pages later, I'm thinking, whoa, who is that? And I didn't even know that that needed to come out. But I think just putting pen to paper releases things out of your body, releases it out of your mind, and lets you really understand and take a step back, as though you are your higher self looking down on your like human self and being like, okay, well, that was something that needed to be looked at. And then you can also read back over what you've written, maybe on a different day. And it's a really good way to release. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love how you said it,
So,
that it's your higher self kind of like observing, because that's what I do
mm,
also with my clients when we do parts work. It's kind of like journaling, but you're just embodying this part of you, and you're, maybe if you do it by yourself, you record yourself on a camera just talking as this part of you. But I feel like journaling is exactly the same. It's like you are just channeling the part of you that feels in a specific way, and then simultaneously you are this observer outside of the mind that is writing this, right, outside of the subconscious mind that is moving your hand in a way. And so it's a beautiful practice. I personally haven't got really that much into journaling, but I've had people saying amazing things about it, and I definitely want to try doing it more, because yeah, some people are just in love with it as a self love practice, or just generally a spiritual practice, because you can just discover so much, because as you said, it's automatic. So sometimes things that you didn't even know that are inside of you can come up when you do this work, right? And the shadow work, really. And journaling can be part of it. But I really love how you say that it's like an observer perspective. It's your higher self perspective looking at what you're writing and expressing. This is self-expression, right? So if we can put it out on paper, it's not in us anymore, it's not stuck in us anymore. We can see it, we can in a way dissociate from it, saying, okay, this is what the mind thinks, but I am here, I am consciousness, just observing, I am presence, observing whatever is happening there. So yeah, I love this practice. And that writing a letter to your younger self also reminds me of something that Teals once said on her self. Of course, there was a love letter to yourself, to write a love letter to yourself, and to actually, like, I don't know how she framed it, but it was something like give it to your friend and let it send to you in some time, write a love letter to yourself and get it sent like in a year or two to yourself, which is just a nice thing to do for your own. It's like, imagine that one day you just like wake up and the postman is coming with a love letter for yourself, from yourself. That should be so nice. Such a nice practice to do that. And that reminds me of one more thing that she said that I really want to mention here, because I think it's a beautiful thing to do in every decision where you're confused about what to do. She would say, ask yourself a question: what would someone who loves themselves do? And then act upon the answer, because this answer will come from your heart. This answer will come from the heart chakra, right? Because you already like directing your focus and directing your energy on this love that you feel towards yourself. So sometimes, people can say, what would Jesus do? Because Jesus is full of love. And so if he would do this or that, if he would forgive, if he would love, if he would, love beyond boundaries and the boundaries, just unconditionally, then we can follow, or any other enlightened person, right? What would Buddha do? What would this person do? I think it's a good question
yeah.
sometimes to ask, to bring ourselves back to our center and to our heart. And so, what are your favorite methods to work with the heart chakra? Do you work with chakras sometimes as well?
I haven't massively gotten into chakras, but I feel that more as I'm going into this journey, I'm starting to notice, yeah, blockages, and it's something that I really want to begin to work with more. I had a Reiki session and it was really powerful. And I was like, right, okay, this is something that I would like to delve into um a lot more.
Mm-hmm. But for
Yeah.
sure, with
But
yoga, you work a lot with the heart chakra, because anytime you open your chest, you also open your heart chakra. So with yoga, gives you this beautiful
yeah,
merge of all the
of
healing
all of it.
things.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I like doing all like heart opening sequences. Yeah, to really channel that energy. And that all kind of does go, yeah, hand in hand with self love
Yeah,
and
that's what I was
yoga
actually
and
about to ask.
stuff.
Do you feel like practicing yoga has helped you love yourself more?
It's definitely helped me, yes, hold space for myself more. Um, like I said before, when I had that experience with yoga where like emotions had arisen, that was really quite at the start of my journey, and I was like, why, what is going on? And as time's gone on, I've been able to be like, okay, I welcome it now. I almost want it. I'm like, what's going to come up in this practice today, you know?
Yeah, I feel I am exactly the
um
same. And I was exactly the same before. It's like negative emotions. Nah, I don't really feel like going into that. And now I'm like, oh, what else can I heal? Ooh, what else is gonna come
yeah.
up? How else can I improve my life even more after going through this shit that I'm feeling right now?
Yeah, and things can arise at any time as well. I think that's like a really important thing to notice, that yeah, something can just pop up out of nowhere, and really feeling into that um is a practice that I'm on right now that's, yeah, helping me through my journey, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
That's beautiful. It's really, really amazing to talk about love, because I feel like if we want to love ourselves like really unconditionally, we need to love all parts of us, even the one that hates us, even the one that is sad, that did something wrong, all parts of us. This is the real love, to just be unconditionally with ourselves and to just really, yeah, because if you don't love even one part of you, that's not fully unconditional love. So it's such a beautiful practice to be okay with all these feelings that are coming, to be okay with all your behaviors, because the truth is you didn't do anything wrong. Like, if you have some behavior or action that you don't like in yourself, it's because you just didn't learn how to do it in a different way. It's not personal, it's not like you are unworthy, it's just that we were programmed in our society, in our family, to believe or to behave in a specific way. And everyone in their essence is so pure, everyone in their essence is just love. So it's so good to remember about it, and yeah, to just really practice being with ourselves unconditionally and really loving ourselves unconditionally.
And I think like really leaning into your shadows is such a huge one. Like you said, like loving both sides, like the light and the dark. Um, and also going back to what you were saying before, is like what would Jesus do, or what would what would the Buddha do? But also really asking yourself, let's say for example, if you notice or you catch yourself going into self-destruct mode, or negative self-talk or self-doubt, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, I'm not, maybe comparing, bringing yourself back to, okay, what would you say to your best friend right now if that if they were talking to themselves like that, or if they were, what would you say? And the answer would be like, no, you're amazing, you're incredible, and you have got this, and you can do this, and just really switching up that mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. I
like it
love
wouldn't
this
speak to our best.
prompt, kind of thought prompt, for consideration. This is really, really great. This has been an amazing conversation. So I have one last little question for everyone who would like to work with you, who vibes with you, and would like to contact you or check out any content that you're doing. What's the best way to find you and contact you?
So the best way is on Instagram, and it's Katie Asquith underscore. Yeah, or you can also find me on Facebook, but I think Instagram is the best option right now. And I actually have a self love workshop next week. It'll be via Zoom, so that's also some people can join if that's something that they would be interested in. and the link is like in my bio.
Amazing. Thank you so,
Thanks
so much,
again.
beautiful sister, for sharing your love with us and your
Thank
wisdom
you.
about love as well and your journey and everything. It's been really great to talk to you. I'm sending you just so much love and gratitude for this beautiful podcast.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, beautiful souls, so much for listening to us, being with us, tuning in. If you'd like to find me, I am The Connection Catalyst on Instagram, or you can go to www.connection-catalyst.com and find all the info about me and what I'm doing in there. And I wish you a beautiful, beautiful day and stay tuned to the next episode.